This message is for YouTube and YouTube bots. YouTube, this is educational content.
First met him when I had just turned 17 and he was 33. I met him after a 30 Seconds to Mars concert. He was immediately flirtatious. And I want to make it clear, I thought this was cool at the time. I was a senior in high school from a small town. This was a big celebrity and he was handsome. I thought it was cool. I would say by the second show, he had started to move from just like flirting to saying things of a more sexual nature. He literally started calling me Lolita, telling me he was old enough to be my father. He knew I was 17. And he would say things like, I'll be your birthday present. I'm gonna punish you on your birthday. He would also do things that I guess that could be considered sweeter, like calling me angel, sweetheart. He would do a lot of brushing hair out of my face, hugging, but obviously there was always like a sexual undercurrent. Check my license. He knew when my birthday was. He was waiting until I crossed that legal threshold. But he also did a lot of inappropriate things when I was 17. He did various things like kiss my neck, touch my chest, grab my ass, take my hand, put it on top of his pants. One time I was backstage with him, grabbed my face and made me promise that I wasn't going to tell anyone. He did things like tell me, as we were saying bye, he would say, don't cheat on me. He would, because he had my number, he would sometimes call me at odd hours in the night, sometimes pretending to be different people, sometimes just being himself. And I definitely was developing a weird mix of feelings towards him. When I turned 18, very soon after we had sex for the first time, I was a virgin. He knew this, which adds a whole nother layer of weirdness. It would have been weird regardless, but he knew I was a virgin. His solution was to just use a different entrance. He was 34. We did have sex once more. He continued to contact me over the years, but I, eventually got in healthy relationships with normal people who were my age, and I just eventually lost interest. I know I made poor decisions. I was 17 though. I was 17, 18 when this was happening, and this was a grown man with a huge power imbalance. I don't know what the hell he's doing now, but he certainly spent a large chunk of his life being a predator towards young women. I just want to thank the 9 women who contributed to the recent article about him. I've been wanting to share my story for a long time, especially as I've gotten older and really come to understand just how gross the things that he did were. But it's very hard to speak up. I feel like those 9 women sort of gave me the permission to share.
The cult of Leto. He has acted in everything from American Psycho to House of Gucci. Now Jared Leto stands accused of impropriety by 9 women. 6 years ago this summer, Jared Leto's followers descended on Mars Island, a private resort off the coast of Croatia. For 3 days, fans, many of them young women, some of them pay more than $6,499 to be there, meditate, chanted, and lounge barefoot in caftans alongside Leto, who, in addition to starring in American Psycho, Fight Club, House of Gucci, Blade Runner 2049, is the frontman of the 30 Seconds to Mars. The band called it a spiritual retreat. The French magazine L'Officiel called it something else: the cult of Jared Leto. Photos from the retreat show Leto dressed in white robes and reflective sunglasses. leading silent processions through 9 pine forests, his signature long hair blowing in the breeze. In one image, he stands on a cliff with his arms raised, dozens of fans below him mimicking the pose. Yes, this is a cult, reads one of the band's tweets. Hashtag Mars Island. Mars branded t shirts and sweaters abounded, as did fans who had the band's logo, a triangle reminiscent of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon album cover tattooed onto themselves. But the theatrics, the robes, the rituals, and the guru posturing at this and other Mars hosted events haven't fully been able to obscure decades worth of rumors about Leto behaving inappropriately with younger women in his orbit. I spoke with 9 of these women who revealed a darker side to the 53-year-old actor. Jared Leto likes them young. On September 12, 2005, the New York Post published an item on Leto, who had a few years earlier appeared opposite Jennifer Connelly in the movie Requiem for a Dream. The story opens with the blunt line, Jared likes him young. Though Jared, 33 years old at the time, had been spotted around New York with Ashley Olsen and Lindsay Lohan, who were both of age by this point. The New York Post alleged that he was more interested in groups of teenage models staying at the Maritime Hotel. Girls from IMG, Elite, Next, and women are staying there, and Jared had been hidden on all of them. An anonymous source told the paper he's a serial texter. He is constantly texting these other 16 and 17-year-old girls. It's really kind of creepy, a representative for Leto calls the New York Post items recycled tabloid fodder and demonstratedly false. Side note, even though these have been rumors, right? And we want to emphasize these are just rumors that have been out there. You do have to wonder what comes out of rumors. Has anything come out of these rumors? Any police reports? Nobody filed one? Let me know what you think in the comments. 20 years later, the woman I spoke to says Leto alleged past behavior was not a phase, but rather part of a long standing pattern. One that was and continues to be widely known in some circles and generally quietly accepted. It's been an open secret for a long time, one of the women tells me. Another woman I spoke to, a model and music producer, says she was 16 when, in 2006, Leto approached her at a Earth Cafe in Los Angeles, then a popular destination for Hollywood agents and middle school girls. The woman's mother was outside waiting for a table. As the woman pushed through the crowd to go to the bathroom, Leto, seated nearby with Olsen, 19, whom he was rumored to be dating at the time, grabbed her arm. I looked down, and it was Jared Leto, the woman says. We had a quick conversation. He got my number. A few days later, Leto called her home in the middle of the night. I don't know if he was on rugs or what. It was the weirdest, grossest voice. But for me, it's Jared, you know? A representative for Leto says he has not had a drink or use rugs in over 35 years. I mean, if he's been out and he's been drinking socially, I guess that would discredit that. That night, Leto was hosting a party at his house in Los Angeles, Laurel Canyon neighborhood, organized by Brent Bolthouse, a nightlife promoter behind the then infamous Neon Carnival parties. lavish, invitation only affairs held at the Desert International Horse Park in Thermal during Coachella. And they show us a picture of the guy whose name is Brent Boldhouse, the nightlife impresario behind many of the actors' parties in New York 2007. Leto invited the woman, but she declined. I didn't even have a driver's license, she says. Still, over the next 3 weeks, the calls kept coming, always at 1, 2, 3 a.m., she remembers. And the conversations turned sexual. He'd ask things like, have you ever had a boyfriend? Have you ever sucked a D? The woman says the experience left her shaken. She was in rehab at the time and discussed it with her counselor. He changed his voice, the way he talked. It scared me, she says. That was the first time I thought, oh my God, that's not just in movies. The woman's mother, who she says overheard one of their phone calls, has confirmed her story. So, during the interview with the journalist, just so I understand, she was in rehab at the time that she was disclosing this. Okay. And her mother, who overheard that conversation, confirmed the call. Now, just gonna say this because I have to say it. If my mama overheard a call like that, listen, I wasn't allowed to date until I was like 15, and the boyfriend had to come over my house. I couldn't leave the house. Like, that's how strict my parents were, right? If my mama overheard a call like that, clickety click, 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 she would make sure that that would have been, it wouldn't gone any further. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. In 2008, the model Laura LaRue, also 16 at the time, had a similar encounter at Yes on Prop 2, an animal rights benefit held at a private residence in Beverly Hills. LaRue remembers Leto spotting her from across the room. He was watching her so intensely, she says, that her mother, who was also at the benefit, noticed. At one point, he came over to talk to her. He asked how old I was. I'm 16. How old are you? LaRue says. Letta was 36 at the time. He asked her for her number anyways. Her mother didn't stop it. LaRue says because she thought being acquainted with Leto would be good for LaRue's burgeoning modeling career. LaRue was living in Ojai, but traveled to Los Angeles, often for work. And she and Leto began emailing. In one exchange, she asked how late he typically worked in his music studio. He replied, late, come visit. She did, arriving at Leto's 4,000 square foot minimalist property one day in late April of 2009. I remember him teasing me the whole time I was there, she says. He was flirting with me. He'd lean in close, then pull away like it was a game. Their communication contained nothing sexual or inappropriate, says a representative for Leto. And Miss LaRue later applied to work as Mr. Leto's personal assistant, further underscoring the absence of anything inappropriate in any of their interactions. LaRue denies ever applying to work as Leto's personal assistant. Okay. Another woman who had an on and off again affair with Leto around the same time described similar behavior. He'd be sweet, then suddenly really demeaning. It was a switch. Flattered by the star's attention, LaRue says that she continued to visit Leto sporadically over the next few months. On one occasion, she alleged he walked out of a room completely naked. he just walked out, peeing out, like it was normal, she says. Laurel didn't know what to think. She was 17 when the incident took place. I thought maybe it was just what adult men do, she says. Also, around this time, another woman I spoke to says she was approached by Leto's assistant at an 18 and 19-year-old nightclub geared towards young people who are above 18 but under the drinking age of 21. According to this woman, who was 20 when this took place, the assistant told her that Leto wanted her number. We ended up hooking up a little at the club, she says, and hung out a few times at his house. But he was weird. Look, I know some people are kinky, and that's fine, but his kind of kink, it just didn't feel right. Another woman I spoke to, an actress who began a texting relationship with Leto when she was still underage, described how visits to his house quickly turned uncomfortable. She recalls him saying things like, "Do any of the little boys you hang out with F you?" When she was 18, the woman says his sexual overturns escalated. She described an incident during one visit to Leto's home when he suddenly pulled out his pee out and started getting a master's degree. Then he walked over, grabbed my hand, and put it on him. He leaned in and said, "I want you to spit on it." Cute girls only. A representative for Leto says all of the allegations are expressly denied. Cute girls only. Leto's dealings with younger women allegedly extend to a larger gathering as well. Several of the women I spoke to mentioned Leto's friendships with Bolthouse, once dubbed the overlord of the LA party scene by the Los Angeles Times, who organized several parties at Leto's homes starting in the mid 2000s, according to someone who worked with Bolthouse. Young women were allegedly recruited to attend these events, some through modeling agencies, others through direct outreach. One party invitation greeted guests with, "Hey kids." A representative for Leto says he did not write or approve the invitations and only recently saw it for the first time. So let me stop right here because clearly, I know you guys see it on the screen, but it looks like Jared Leto is like denying every allegation, right? So how is he denying it? Like through his representative, responding to every allegation, which I think is a good thing, right? Like if the man is saying it didn't happen that way, then, at least he's giving a statement. He's not ignoring the allegations. He did give a formal statement. It's up to you guys how you land with this. I keep hearing he's going to go legal now. Now, 9 women, he's going to go legal. I guess I'd like to see how all of this goes down because it looks like a lot of things have been saved. Now, a lot of these allegations are like early 2000s, before people really start like screen shooting things and, you know, using their camcorder for stuff or, camera phones for stuff. So I'm kind of curious to know what else do we have? Sounds like we might have emails, maybe parents that heard phone conversations, that sort of thing. But still, even though like LaRoe, for example, the first one who was talking about that, parent didn't want to intervene because they didn't want to mess up their child's career in the industry. Just really shows how complacent or how like laid back some of these parents are, or maybe how paid they were, right? Just a thought. A representative for Leto says he did not write or approve the invitation and only recently saw it for the first time. A woman I spoke to who attended Leto's parties in 2007 and 2008 said that when she wanted to bring a friend to one of the parties, she was asked for photos of her plus one. They would ask who, and they'd be like, cute girls only, she says. Headshots were a regular requirement for all guests, males and females, Bolthouse says. I was 18 at the time I went, and I was definitely not the youngest person there. The woman I spoke to says she estimated the ratio at the parties to be 60 very young women to 4 or 5 men. She says the focus seemed to be on getting girls to skinny dip. The energy was all about getting the girls in the pool. Bolthouse says that he never saw anyone skinny dipping. Leto tends to keep to the shadows at these events. As one of the women who attended his parties told me, he was sober, meticulous, always in control. There was never any recruiting, complaints, or impropriety, says a representative for Leto. Let me stop right here. Time out, my friends. The way in which this journalist writes this, it does leave something for like interpretation. Like even the word meticulous, right? Was he always sober, meticulous, always in control because he was trying to get a young girl? Is that what's happening here? Because it's kind of leaving room for the reader to interpret that. I do have to say that. Just a thought. Let's keep going. Something darker. Last month, the Los Angeles based DJ and music producer Ali Tellis. By the way, her name is Ali Teals, not Tellis. I did not want to re edit the video, so again, Ali Teals is her name. Making the correction there. Reposted a 2012 Facebook status she'd written in her Instagram stories. You're not really in LA until Jared Leto tries to force himself on you backstage in a kilt and a snow hat. Now, I had heard of Allie. I believe she had dated Jared Leto and Joaquin Phoenix, very young girl that was, kind of with these industry people, right? And when I heard about her, I thought it was kind of like what before before these 9 women came forward, before this airmail expose was done, because mind you, Rolling Stone, The Guardian, everybody's taking from this airmail article, right? I heard about her, Allie, before. Like this story about this situation with Ali and Jared Leto, very much old, 2012 definitely, and there is an Instagram post and status that says that. But I always had a lot of questions because I wasn't sure if it was like a one-time incident or like, the contact, what that looked like, what exactly was happening here at the time. Some of you guys might be familiar with her story. It further goes. I was assaulted and traumatized by this creep when I was 17. She wrote in another Instagram story. He knew my age and didn't care. What he did was predatory, terrifying, and unacceptable. She added a comment, throwback to 2012. Jared Leto was a creep then, still a creep now, going on 15 plus years of being in Hollywood's most persistent predator in a kilt, and 29 plus years of being a Pedialyte. When does this end? Protect our girls. Hashtag Jared Leto. Ms. Tellis' allegations are demonstrably false, says a representative for Leto. Well, here's the thing that I have a question for Jared Leto. Why hasn't Jared Leto addressed these before? Like, are they addressing him now because they got 9 women? And Allie's calling him a Pedialyte, guys. That's a very specific type of allegation. Dylan Sprouse did like an IG post, I think 2018 or something like that, where it alleged that Jared Leto was sliding into people's DMs in the industry between the ages of 18 and 25. That's not underage. Yes, 18 is young, but that's not underage legally, right? But that's a big allegation. In that, my friends, you would want, if it's untrue, Jared Leto should have been jumped on that and cleared his name. Now, I know people don't do that. People typically don't always jump to the lawsuit side of stuff, but I'm just saying. That's a huge allegation that was made in 2012. What came out of this? Allie has 113,000 Instagram followers, and her post went viral, triggering a wave of responses. She shared over 50 of the responses she received on Instagram, though noted she only included responses by women she personally knows. And many of them echo the accounts of the women I spoke to for this story. It's the journalist. Yet women have been hesitant to come forward beyond Instagram. Many of those whom I spoke to seem to still be processing their encounters with Leto, given how young they were when they happened. He put on this show of reality, believing in me, one woman says. It made me feel validated, seen as an 18, 19-year-old by this successful actor. Cosmopolitan reported on a now deleted 2015 video posted by the director James Gunn, Guardian of the Galaxies and the upcoming Superman, accusing Leto of sleeping with underage girls. I heard about this and it was deleted. See, this is where I have to call that director out, James Gunn. You did a video and then you deleted it. And I heard about this video. I never saw it, but I heard about this video in 2015. So if you have a Pedialyte in the industry and this is known and you have somebody who's speaking about it, he deletes his video. How many girls have been re-victimized over and over after 2015? I have questions about that. The next morning, Gunn posted, "Good morning and sorry to you all around the world who saw my ambient fueled Periscope session last night at 3 a.m. He blamed it on the ambient. I think it's bullshit. But hey, that's just my thoughts. In 2016, Leto made headlines again for reportedly sending used condominiums and A beads, okay? A beads and dead rats to a Suicide Squad co-star Margot Robbie, Will Smith, and Viola Davis. It says, I got so many weird things, Robbie later said in an interview with E! I can't even begin to tell you. Let's go back a little bit. Like, it's one thing, right, to be kind of off the wall, weird. That's fine. Artistic. You know, we have a lot of that in the industry, right? We have a lot of that. But to send used condominiums, I'm thinking out of the wrapper, used, filled with whatever, you know, and beads that only go in one area of your body, not the ones that you wear, although you could wear them. I don't know. I wouldn't, but I'm just like, not those kinds. I had heard about this in 2016. Matter of fact, I pulled the article from Entertainment Tonight because they were the ones to report it. Like I said, it's one thing. And dead rats, let's not forget that. I don't know if this was like, I'm trying to be the Joker character. I don't remember the Joker being like somebody who was fueled by actual energy. Maybe not as much. So much so that he would send used condominiums and, you know, those kinds of beads, those beads, or even like one thing for dead rats. Okay, I get that, but even that, like real dead rats. And what did Will Smith and Viola Davis do? And Margot Robbie. Can you imagine in a traditional workplace environment sending some of that shit to your boss or to your coworkers? I'm just going to send you a box full of used condominiums. Because that's what I do. Because I'm off the wall. Because that's what? Ain't that like grounds for termination? Or let me let you go, or you're not going to be in the next movie? That type of situation. Or maybe you shouldn't do the Hollywood thing anymore. I mean, you have a whole lawsuit right now with, what is it? I haven't kept up with it. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. That made a lot of allegations. What are we doing here? Let's keep going. I got so many weird things, Robbie later said in an interview with E. I can't even begin to tell you. At the time, the story was dismissed as extreme method acting, something Leto is known for. 99.9% of what people read is bull. Leto later told Entertainment Weekly there were no used condominiums, and any of the very few gifts that were ever given were given with the spirit of fun, adventure, and received with laughter. So he's saying there might have been dead rats and maybe some beads. You know, the downstairs beads, but not the used condominiums. The ones in the wrapper, maybe. But that's what method actors do. Okay. But to some in the industry, it suggested something darker. No shit. In 2018, the British tabloid Metro reported on a Twitter post by the actor Dylan Sprouse that reads, Yo, at Jared Leto, we just talked about that Twitter post. Now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model ages 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is? Now, I kind of interpret that, and I mean, there isn't anything more to this other than that. Could Dylan Sprouse be kind of throwing a joke out there, given that in 2018 was pretty much the height of the Me Too movement? I don't know. 18 to 25 is a very specific age that technically is not underage, right? Like, you can be 18 talking to a 33-year-old. Not a good idea, but you could do it. You could do it, right? Keep that in mind. Let's keep reading the article. To which Gunn replied, he started at 18 on the internet. Now, James Gunn responded to Dylan Sprouse's tweet. I have the screenshot here. That's what he said. But James Gunn, was this the ambient to James Gunn? That's what I want to know. Did you have an ambient fuel thing here? Because you deleted this one, actually. Dylan Sprouse didn't delete his tweet. James did. To which Gunn replied, he started at 18 on the internet. Gunn and Sprouse did not respond to Airmail's request for comments. Of course not. And a representative for Leto says he has never met either of them. So if that's the case, what's Dylan's beef with Jared? Kind of makes you wonder if maybe a friend talked to, Dylan and let him know a little bit about what's going on with Jared Leto, and then that's the exposing, or how did this all start? Because that message, that tweet, came out of nowhere. Like what? I'm searching to see if these two had beef with each other. Nothing. Article continues. Let me be clear, Ali wrote in another Instagram story. What he's done is not okay. The sheer volume of these cases and how young some of these girls were, just 14, 16, 15, breaks my heart. I remember being so physically ill to the point of throwing up when I passed billboards for his films. One woman tells me, and just wondering how everyone in LA knows. So, the writer of this article, or is the senior editor, I think her name is Ellen Claverino from the Airmail. So, the Airmail was who dropped this. I think it should be noted too that there's very extensive Reddit threads about Jared Leto. Let me put this out here, okay? I know we have to be very careful with Reddit because you don't, credibility, all that other stuff, how much research you can pull, but people be having like confessionals on Reddit, right? They do full on confessionals. Why? Because it's a post, change your name, delete it, remove it, go away and leave it there. But there has been like historic postings of this stuff out there of Jared Leto specifically. Now, I don't know what's going to come out of this. And I do wonder. The woman that I just played earlier, she was young too when she met Jared Leto. I haven't seen any of the other accusers do videos but her. And I'm wondering why I haven't seen anybody on YouTube really pick up her video. Think we're first. Now, of course, everything's alleged, guys. I don't know. Everything's alleged. And I hope that there's some clarity to this. Hope that there's an investigation. I wonder, in the way in which Ali talks about this, she's talking about cases. Have any of these minor alleged victims gone to the police and made the appropriate reports? That's the question. It's not a crime to be artistic. Hell, I mean, if people want to join a cult, that's not even a crime, although, in my opinion, it should be. That's just my opinion. But none of that is a crime, right? But if there is a pattern of behavior where this person has been targeted children in the vicinity, right? Allegedly, right? If there is a pattern of behavior, well, why hasn't this been reported? And why are we just dancing around the issue? That's the question. And it sounds like some of the parents were okay and accepting of, oh yeah, you can talk to my daughter, it's okay, or you can go, my daughter can go over your house, that type of situation. I mean, like, what are we doing here? I haven't seen a lot of people talk about Jared Leto other than the things that we already know, which is like the cold and the Suicide Squad movie, that type of situation. I've never seen a video, and this woman did the first video that I saw on TikTok that got 1.2 million views. So I haven't seen it on YouTube, so I had to bring it over. Shout out to her. And I don't know her name, so hopefully she gets the healing that she needs, and everybody else that's involved as well. Again, Airmail did the expose, I want to say about a month ago, so we're a little late because of the Diddy trial, but we're catching up. Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation in the comments. You guys are welcome to your opinions. I'll see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Bye, guys.